From beyond the farthest reaches of our galaxy they come. Two brains pulsing with a strange energy. These space brains come to share their love of science fiction movies.
Welcome to Space Brains, the show where we joy watch sci-fi movies and talk about what was good and what was great. I'm Surrey, and this is Mark.
Hiya. Tonight we're talking about Oblivion. It's a 2013 sci-fi film, so consider this your spoiler warning.
Yeah, turn back now if you haven't seen this movie before, because we're not going to hold back on all the twists and turns of this plot.
No, we are certainly not. So what was your number one takeaway, Surrey, from Oblivion?
My number one takeaway is that I got to wondering, in Thomas the Tank Engine, the Fat Controller always asked Thomas if he's a really useful engine. Yes, I'm a really useful engine. So I was wondering what would happen to him if he'd be attacked by drones, if at any point it was indicated that Thomas was not a useful engine. Are you an effective team?
Yeah, effective team, yes. Was the mantra that kept getting asked to Victoria.
The start of that was, it seemed instant enough.
Yep.
Yeah, how's everything all around? Are you still an effective team? Yes, we are. Okay.
But it kept getting emphasised.
It kept that being, are you still an effective team?
Yes. And then, no, we are not an effective team.
Yeah, and then the drones came out.
Yeah.
We warned you about the spoilers.
We did.
And that's why I got to, I watched that bit and I thought, Thomas the Tank Engine, when that drone came in through that window, through the curtains, I was thinking, just like a train engine, just coming through to annihilate Thomas for not being a useful engine.
They were full on, the drones, weren't they? They were really full on, I think.
They were great.
They were like, it was a really cool thing.
They had that same sound effect as Revolt.
They did, yeah.
That deep buzzing hum.
Yeah. They definitely gave them a lot of personality in this film, and they screeched as well when they kind of got shot at a little bit. There was a bit of screeching and screaming, mechanical screaming.
There's also a bit of Star Wars coming through in this movie.
I think so, yeah.
You see a few bits, so the sound of the drones, in Empire Strikes Back, an Imperial drone lands on Hoth to look for the rebels, and it has this little repeated thing,
Yep.
And these drones, when they fell down and waited for repair, they sort of had that little repeating signal.
Right, yeah,
which sounded similar.
That's right, yes.
And I was listening to that going, I'm expecting Han Solo and Chewbacca to pop up and take pot shots. And yeah, so I think there was that...
These drones seemed a little bit more serious, but that was my impression. These were not as fun and games as
it was
guys.
Pointed out, though, when they shot that drone, the Imperial drone on Hoth, that it blew up too easily. It self-destructed. So,
okay.
So
yes,
maybe,
that's right.
But anyway, that was my takeaway. I did this effective team thing, and I found it was just it had a science fiction feel to it. You can imagine the sci-fi, other sci-fi movies where there's a team and there's this asked, and you sort of get this feeling as maybe it's a sort of a military ritual that gets asked. Here's a series of questions. When we do this report, series of questions. You're present. Where's the whereabouts of so and so? Is something? Are you an effective team?
Yeah, like
maybe there's a code response back, which would be our effectiveness has been compromised.
Yes,
and
that's
that
right.
means that there's an alien presence, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
So I got that feeling, but it did have that. It started to get that overused feeling, and Thomas the Tank Engine happens to have that same thing, whereas every now and then they talk about being a really useful engine, and I can't help but think to myself, that sounds sinister.
It does.
So Mark, is this a hope, a warning, or an experiment?
This one's a 50-50 for me on hope and warning, because, I mean, the warning side of it is, of course, some extraterrestrial unidentified object has destroyed the planet basically and taken us over. So look, I see this as a bit of hope and warning. It's hard to pick between the two, I think, because the warning, of course, is, well, an alien power that, again, is quite obviously much more powerful than humans. You know, a bit like the Beyond. You know how we had these aliens that were basically setting up the whole universe, weren't they? In the Beyond, you know, they were master. We were just
playing billiards.
Yeah, basically. And again, this film, I think this story is a little bit like that. There's this extraterrestrial being that obviously just zaps planets and whatever lives on them. And so on that side, there's a warning, like, you know, well, what would we do in this context? But I see that, and it happens in a lot of these science fiction, doomy, gloomy science fiction films like this one, that, of course, humans are just so much like rats, aren't they? You know, like, we just kind of survive. There's enough of us that survives. We talked about this with The Darkest Dawn. Like, you can have, you know, this military power comes down. You can't kind of annihilate them all. It's like rats or cockroaches. You can't get rid of every single little bugger, can you? No matter what you do, no matter how powerful the bombs are, there's always going to be one or two somewhere in the corner.
We can look at our own history of the Roman Empire trying to conquer far off places, or the Vietnam War, for example. A military might of US dropping bombs and stuff, and you know what? They just kind of hide in their bunkers and wait for it to finish, and then they pop back out again.
Taliban sort of example, you know,
there in Afghanistan,
in the caves again, and you can't quite get them all out in one go, can you? And but I think then, therefore, from a human point of view, maybe there's always a bit of hope. You know, last episode with The Wandering Earth, it was, you know, very obvious hope was what a big, strong message of that film.
It was the stated thing.
Yeah, they literally
within the first 5 minutes, I think.
And they kept repeating it. But this film didn't necessarily say that. But I think overall, there's a bit of a message of hope that it's one of these ones like, and it's been done before, I think, as a message, but maybe like humanity would survive. You know, like humanity wouldn't necessarily, it doesn't thrive in this film at all, but it's like eventually humanity would figure out a way.
I think it also has that image or that message of this inner soul, this power which resides within humanity that can't be tamed or destroyed.
That's right.
And at the very last scene in the film, I think that sort of, there's a bit of a voiceover where Tech 52 is saying something along the lines of, there's a soul that has spoken to me, and, you know, I've seen your face in my dreams, and, you know.
So I you know, like, I think he does say something like, you know, if we are a soul, it's about that connection of memories and love, or something, you know, some line like that.
Yeah, some garbage. I mean,
I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. Beautiful.
It was beautiful and touching. I call it garbage to stop myself from tearing up.
Yeah, that's right.
It's my brush exterior,
bringing you back around feeling. But yeah, so I don't know. Hope versus warning. Yeah, I sit on the fence though on those two. What about you?
No, I definitely like the hope side of things here.
Yeah,
where even with a mind wipe, even with a failed lost war, even with 60 years separating them, the Jack. Which isn't that a butch name?
Yep.
How many characters has Tom Cruise played where his name is Jack?
He's literally at the same time playing Jack Reacher. I mean, like, it's two Jacks in the same era.
How many Jacks can you have? It's
plenty. It's perfect.
Such a masculine name.
I mean, his name is Tom normally, so it's got to be something like that. It's a Tom, Jack,
but even though he is some sort of cloned replica of his original self, even though 60 years have gone past, nonetheless, that beautiful memory and experience with his fiancée, I don't think they actually got married, because she was still Julia Rozakova or whatever it was on her.
That's right, yeah.
Her bit, and that's the way he introduces her to Mission Control.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that they got engaged, and they're probably going to get married when they came home. But because she does make a point in the film to say, he makes a point to say, she's my wife.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, you know, pisses Victoria off, of course.
Oh, yeah. So that's that bit. What have you been up to?
Step 2.
That's right.
Next bits. Okay, so I finally finished editing book 2.
Excellent.
I'm just about finished writing book 3. The problem I'm having with book 3, of course, is it's coming short on the word count.
Okay.
It's about 10,000 words. But that's okay, because what I'm able to do then is explore some of the areas in the storyline that were difficult to explore in the audio drama. So in particular, his spirit world encounters in the audio drama. It's kind of abbreviated. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to represent a spirit journey, but in the novel I can explore a bit further. So that's a bit nice there. So publishing book 2 hopefully this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Just not sure how much time I've got. I'm going up to Kings Park to see the wildflowers. But otherwise, I have lunch with some friends of Pips or something or other. But yeah, no, that's really good. And I've just about finished watching Z Nation, I guess I'd call it, which not exactly science fiction. I always wonder though where some of these zombie movies fall in the science fiction spectrum, because some of them are more, it's a virus and we're kind of being a little bit, not realistic about it, but let's say we're sort of being a bit explanatory about it.
Yeah. Some of the zombie stuff goes into the science side of it.
And some of them are just more like, there's no room left in hell.
Yeah.
So the dead will walk the earth.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
Or the original Night of the Living Dead, which the 1956, I dare say.
Yeah.
If John Romero, it's not John Romero, he's from Doom. If
George.
Good
old George.
If George wants to get in contact with me, assuming he's still able to walk.
Yeah.
Of course he can. He'll be eating our flesh. The original actually is sort of in black and white. Yeah. It doesn't go into any of the science or anything. It's just purely there are walking corpses going crazy on people.
Yep.
But some of the more recent ones have explored more the genetic, and Z Nation, for example, goes more into this some sort of genetic manipulation, experimentation on warfare and disease vaccines and immortality, anti-aging. There's sort of this medical undercurrent in there, along with the giant ball of rolling zombies. It's a somewhat comedic.
It is. I watched the first 2 seasons of that, and it pushes it a bit at times, and but it's fun as well.
So I'm just wondering where some of these things come. And the reason I think about that is because Halloween is coming up.
Yep.
And I suspect what we probably should do is find a spooky
science
sci-fi.
Fiction. Yeah.
So I'm thinking things like Event Horizon.
Yep.
That's kind of
spooky.
That
was a great one.
And we've already done Alien. That was kind of spooky, but there must be other horror science fiction.
Yeah. Truckloads of them out there.
Yeah, so maybe we should The Fly.
The Fly. Ooh.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
It's quite revolting, but it's very good.
Yeah.
So anyway, there we go. That's what I've been thinking about.
That's very good.
And yourself?
Well, I'm just going to start planning to film a short in November. I'm not sure at this point if it's going to be a science fiction or not, but I'm just going to get the ball rolling. I've got a couple more days of my regular 9-to-5er, my Clark Kent position, and at the Daily News or whatever it is. And once I get that, I've submitted all my deadlines, then I've got a little bit of spare time, hopefully over the next couple of weeks to, pick one of my short scripts and just get the thing rolling, which is really exciting. So I want to shoot in November, and edit in December, and then put it out there next year into a couple of competitions. Sort of do that idea. And so that's exciting. I haven't picked which one I'm going to go for, but looking forward to that. And I will still waiting to hear back about that funding. So hopefully, fingers crossed that's happening. There is actually a Scream West get together on next Tuesday night. So I'm going to that. I've got my ticket in on that. So I'll just go and maybe meet some like-minded film people and have a chat about my film stuff. And so sort of see what outcomes come out of that. So it's exciting.
That sounds really good. I'm pretty keen to have a go at some script writing, but there's too many other projects between me and that.
Yes.
And I figure I should wait until I've got something really good to deal with.
Yeah. But even this other artist I'm just connected to, she's doing this Artist Way thing. Sorry, Mr. Artist Way. Thank you for that, Jab. There was one of the other people in the group doing it. Like, she just sent through, she's like, I'm not a writer, that's not my thing. And she read this little kind of, she's like, I don't know if this is a short story or poem. She read it into the group. And I was like, wow, that would make an excellent short story. Like, it was a really cool little short story about a girl watching under the door of her father watching horror films and what that experience was like. I was like, wow, that's really cool. So, yeah, like, you don't have to be, anyone can be a writer, anyone can be a script writer, anyone can do this stuff. It's just, you got to do it.
I think one of the best bits of advice I got was from the late Sir Terry Pratchett, name drop. He was doing a speaking tour back in the 90s. He passed through Canberra at the ANU, and so I went along to that. And afterwards, I managed to, a bunch of us cornered him, and someone asked the question. They said, "Oh, yeah, I really want to be a writer. How do you do that?"
How did you do it?
Because if you don't know who Terry Pratchett is, he's a tremendously he unfortunately passed away last year, I believe, from a type of degenerative Alzheimer's.
Okay.
A very rare version of it, which quite unfortunate because he had quite a brilliant mind.
Yep.
He's got about 40 main novels and then numerous TV shows, movies, other bits
so just
and pieces here
hugely
and there, all over the
prolific.
place.
Yeah.
Sold millions of copies.
Yep.
Comedy writer. But he said, he basically said, oh, it's funny because to be a writer, it's in the name. You just got to write.
Yeah.
I mean, to be a good writer is harder, but to be a writer, if you want to be a writer, just start writing.
Just start writing, yep.
And getting good happens along the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's what I mean. I'm writing, and when I've gotten through enough of these other projects that I've already got lined up, I would definitely like to have a stab at such things because...
And that's the thing with that thing I went to, Ben Young, he made his low-budget feature here that's done quite well critically and then done that studio film, Extinction. He said that the Wasted on the Young that was his 10th feature script, and on top of numerous short scripts, on top of writing for commercials. So he'd been writing for quite a long time before he got to his feature that finally actually got up, someone put some money in, and we're talking very low budget, and he was saying the same sort of thing. It's writing and all of those feature scripts had 3 or 4 heavy drafts to them. It wasn't just, oh, here's a brilliant script first time out. And there's a young guy in the industry working his butt off to get somewhere. Stephen King, there's a great Stephen King book, Stephen King on writing, and he actually talks about his writing past and where he came from and all that. It's a very interesting read if you are interested in, again, a hugely prolific writer. He writes every single day, Christmas, birthday, New Year's Day, every single day, every morning. He writes for something like 4 or 5 hours, no matter what, and his family's just had to accept that over time. He didn't always do it, but once he started writing, that was his commitment to himself, was that he would write every single day. And he did start writing as a kid, but when he became an adult and had children and all this sort of stuff, he started doing that as a habit, and he's never given it away. Even through drug rehab and alcoholism and other things that have affected him along the way, he's just continued to write every single day. So I think, as you said, like it's in the name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's easy to become a writer. It's harder to make a full living on it. Yeah, but that's the same with anything, really. It's easier to work on a computer. It's harder to earn good money from computers.
Yeah. But for me, it's something in my blood. It's something I want to do is make films. So if you are actually interested in it, I think you find a way to do it somewhere.
That's the trick, isn't it? We've all got the same 24 hours in a day. It's just how we choose to prioritize.
That's right. Yep.
Speaking of that, in Oblivion, then.
Yes. So
they had a day job.
They did. So this film, just to start with, it's a 2013 science fiction film. It's directed, and the origin of the story came from the director Joseph Kosinski. I think. Again, pronunciation. So I think he'd written a graphic novel. I didn't really go down the rabbit hole about that, but that's where it come from. A couple of big script writers came on board. These guys are proper Hollywood script writers. If you look into their background, behind a whole variety of TV series and big films, including...
I think it shows in this movie too.
It does. I think it really did. And I thought that I felt it a little bit at the start, that I was like, "Oh, this is Hollywood." To me, this film is Hollywood at its best when it's that real. Last week we saw a film, The Wandering Earth, where I really felt that, here's China, making a real big go at Hollywood, this matches.
Like a Michael Bay.
They were doing that in The Wandering Earth. This isn't Michael Bay, this film, but at the same time, this is Hollywood. It really gears up. And so I think the director, this was only his second feature after Tron Legacy, and so he's sort of a bit of an unknown, but his background is a little bit, again, going back to the Beyond with Has. This guy's a special effects guy, so again, it's like there's a bit of a connection there, I think. So he's taken the realms, he's run with, so he's obviously a bit of a sci-fi nut, just like you and me. Sorry, that's what this guy's.
That's where it comes from.
So I wouldn't be surprised if good old Joseph, he might reach out to us on Instagram after this, or Twitter. And so those writers were Carl. Now these names get really difficult. Did you have a look at them?
No.
Carl Galjuskala, I think, and Michael Arndt. But both of these guys, Carl, big in TV and some different films. Michael, massive in the script writing world of Hollywood, including Toy Story 3. So big films. If you go and look at their resume, these guys they're full time. Yeah. I reckon these guys are full time on the books, because they also do. You look into it, and they do a lot of I think Hollywood makes scripts, or they buy a script and then they're like, this is a really good script. Carl and Michael, can you just kind of have a little look and a little tweak? That's what these guys are like.
Get it working a little bit better.
Yeah. And of course, Tom Cruise plays Jack. Morgan Freeman is in it. They bring him in. Can't go wrong.
I forgot he was in it.
Yeah.
Until he started talking, and then you hear that voice and you go, yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
And they were very clever because they brought him in and you only heard his voice first.
Yes.
Because we all love his voice.
And he does the quote of the
Roman
poem there.
Of course, you've got to do that, don't you? If you're going to have it. And his character was called Beach. I didn't really pick that up in the film, but IMDb says it's Beach. And then we have the two women in Jack's life.
Jamie Lannister, isn't it?
Yeah, Jamie Lannister's also
What's his name?
Yeah.
I
think it was... yes. I don't know his real name, but it was a pretty small role for him, but it was a bit of a tag-along role.
Well, it's 2013. This is before Game of Thrones.
During Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it would have been
9 series, so 8.
8 over the past sort of 10 years.
Yeah.
So it was a couple of years in.
Probably why he got this gig, It was
almost certainly. It was just like, I want to be seen somewhere else.
He needs to be in
something. He did quite well in it. You didn't sort of look at him and go, no. Oh, he's just Jamie Lannister.
But I mean, in all honesty, he probably said about 10 words in the film, didn't he? And a couple of action sequences. So it was a bit
All the actors out of Game of Thrones have had their little side bit they've gone.
What's
Nikolaj, is it?
Yeah, that's it, Nicholas. Yeah, Nikolaj. Yeah. I think he'd just be called Nick. He can correct us.
Well, on the weekend we'd catch up on the barbecue. I call him Nick.
And anyway, the two women in Jack's life, we have Julie, which she comes into the story later. That's his wife or fiance, played by Olga. See, I can't even read my writing either. Olga Kurylenko, I think, who's been in a whole bunch of feature films. Not really as a leading lady, so she's sort of been around the traps.
I don't recognise her from anything in particular.
Yeah, and it's the same with the actress playing Victoria, Andre Risenborough. Again, she's been in a whole stack of films, but I don't think she's kind of cracked that top league stuff.
Yeah,
so
recognition.
Yeah, but all of that key crew of actors were quite strong in this film. I mean, personally, you can't go wrong with Tom, can you?
Now, Tom is Tom. You can say a lot about Tom, but he brings a level of dedication to his portrayals. I think it reminds me a bit of who's that guy who played the Dark Knight?
Heath?
No, that was the Joker, the actual Batman fella.
Bale, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, that's it. Yeah, Yeah, like Christian Bale reminds me in many ways of Tom Cruise in his delivery and the intensity.
Yeah.
So, and there's a couple of those actors who are like that, where you always sort of know that you're going to get a real dedication.
Well, I just think this is un-sci-fi, but I mean, if I go back over Tom Cruise's catalogue of films, like a lot of those films I've just enjoyed. Like there's not many that I kind of go, I didn't like that. Like whatever you say about his individual performance or whatever, but like the films are good, you know. And I think he's a dude that, I mean, many years ago he resurrected United Artists when it went bankrupt. He kind of bought it and took it over and took over their catalogue and stuff. Like he's a dude that's in the Hollywood, you know, he is Hollywood really, you know. Like this is the thing, you know. Like so, I mean, you want a character named Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
Who's like an all-American astronaut hero. Well, I mean, surely the thing that comes to mind is Tom Cruise. Like, you wouldn't really be thinking of many other actors, would you?
No, I'm trying to think.
Especially in 2013, like, he would be the guy that would come up, wouldn't it?
No, he would be it.
So, anyway, what happens at the start? Jack. How does this film start? We start in Jack's memory.
Oh, yeah, we start off with a bit of a memory, a walk.
Yeah, a black and white
a little
memory.
touch of New York, where he's a little voiceover telling us that he's, you know, remembers, but you know, it's New York before he was born.
Yeah, so it's weird.
Which, yeah, and you see, oh, that's a bit odd. And then we get a quick rundown of alien invasion. They blew up the moon. Caused devastation, but we won the war.
Yep.
But the Earth is screwed, so we're heading to Titan.
Yep.
And in the meantime, there's this space station, and he's there.
They call it the Tech.
The Tet. I assume it's short for tetrahedron.
Okay.
Which is pyramid. In fact, I quite like this. There's a bit of a three-way, you know, because there's a triangular pyramid thing, and there's a lot of triples and everything, like the landing gear and the little bug craft.
And even their relationship was a bit of a
There's a bit of a triangle throughout this whole thing, so it's kind of cool. And they're sucking up the oceans to turn into fusion power to get them for the colony, basically.
And I wrote down the scabs are on the Earth, but it wasn't scabs, it was scavs.
Scav.
I just like, that was sort of how I heard it. I was like, scabs? Scabs? Are they really called scabs? I was like, well, they could ask scabs, you know? Like, you know,
so
the scabs left on Earth. And it's kind of the premise is the scavs to people like Jack are the aliens. They're the leftover aliens.
They're the aliens. So there's some aliens left over, and they're kind of causing a bit of problems with every now and then knocking down some drones and causing issues. So
they're trying to suck up as much power so they can get everyone, the remaining left of humanity, to Titan, this moon of Saturn. And Jack's job is to basically, he's a real all-rounder here. He's a mechanic, basically, isn't he? To fix the drones.
He's the troubleshooter mechanic, and he flies off in his little bug craft. Looks like a dragonfly type of thing.
Yep.
And he flies off, and these drone is down, and straight up we get into a bit of action where the drone is down, and he's got to replace it.
Yep.
And we see that he's being watched. Watched. And then we get the say the dog moment, not the say the cat moment, where the drone, and because this dog had no other significance except to show that Jack cares about life.
Yeah, because he's telling the dog to bugger off,
and
the drone's about to blow it out.
Drone's going to wake up, and he just knows that drone's not going to be friendly. And in fact, the drone kind of is a bit sketchy on Jack as well.
Yeah.
Which does make you a bit wonder about the relationship between these drones and the humans.
Yep.
But otherwise,
and we also have that he's got a partner, Victoria, both romantically and work-wise, back on this little hub thing that they like in the sky.
Tower
they're kind of in the sky on this. You know, it's like a really slick LA apartment, really.
It does. It reminded me a lot of one of those cliff perching little apartments that you always get in these movies.
And I mean, she's there to relay mission control from the Tet. Is it Tet? I thought it was Tech.
Yeah, Tet.
Tet. Okay. I'm going to get that wrong a few times.
That's okay. Call it whatever you like.
So she's relaying information from there, and also sort of letting them know what they're doing. We do find out that the scavs are kind of like, they're pulling down the drones, and they've lost a couple in their area that they look after. And we get this, what you said before, are you effective partnership?
Yeah.
Or team?
Are you still an effective team?
Team. And Victoria keeps saying, yes, we are effective.
Thomas.
And also, it's just another day in paradise.
Yeah, just another day in paradise.
Just another day in paradise, which clearly it wasn't for them.
Yeah, and they had 2 weeks before they're going to be shipped off, finish their tour of duty, and they're going to be shipped off up to Titan.
So then he does that thing with the dog. He saves the dog, and he's okay. He's back flying along, and he's looking for this other drone 166, and he's kind of going along, and the radar is not picking it up. So he goes, "I'm going to go on land," and he lands, and he gets on his bike.
Yeah,
and this is where we get Tom Cruise at his best.
Yeah, I wasn't sure the significance of having to.
We just put Tom Cruise on a bike, Surrey. Put him on a bike. Come on, he couldn't drive a fast car. Put him on a bike.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
We need him to do that sort of stuff. This is what Tom Cruise does.
Oh, he has sunglasses on.
He does.
He's aviators. He's
very much. He loves doing that. It's
looking very maverick.
Impossible. Yeah. So, and look, all of that is telling us a lot about who Jack is. This is the whole point of this, I reckon. But anyway, so he finds through his scanner that it's come up that it's sort of in this weird hole, a cave kind of, or abandoned.
A sinkhole.
Sinkhole. He calls it a sinkhole.
But I think it was actually the New York State Library.
Yeah. And so he descends down this hole because he's pretty happy to do that. And he finds it's a booby trap.
Yeah.
It's not actually...
It's actually a globe.
Yeah,
I mean, I would have been suspicious going, oh, there it is over there.
Yeah.
You go, how to get in there? Okay. It's covered by a tarp. It'll be like, who's covering it with a tarp?
But he did kind of give us, he did give that reaction. He was a bit like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah, but he throws it back and it's actually a globe.
Yeah, it's a globe.
And just like the transmitter of the drone sitting there, making its little Star Wars-esque noise.
Yeah. And so and this whole time when he's doing this, you can see that he's being kind of watched, and he puts his foot in a foot trap, and he's like sucked down with rope, but he manages to get himself free. We can see that there's all sorts of creatures, these scavs are in there with him, so he runs like hell, and he has to sort of jump back across a little canyon thing
That's, again, a Tom Cruise moment.
He's like
great
holding
big
on.
jump, and he slides in. He manages to pull himself up.
And these creatures are on top of him.
Hooks his cable on and starts going up, and then it cuts.
Someone cuts a good moment, that bit, wasn't it?
And he goes, ugh. And we get that bass drop.
Yeah.
And so it's so popular. It was in Wandering Earth as well.
Yeah.
When they get in the Wandering Earth is when the truck was up, and everyone was sort of flying inside the truck, went slow motion, and went, boom. And then people fall. And it was certainly very popular about 5 years ago. Every other movie seemed to have this moment where there'd be something cool would happen.
Yeah.
And you get a doom.
I liked in that moment, but wasn't it? Because as he was ascending, he's like, "Ha, sucker!" Yes. Which was a nice moment because they don't quite often the action heroes don't do that, But he was like that, and then the rope cut,
Yeah, he looked a bit upset by that.
Yeah, I know. I was like, "No, sucked in."
But that's okay because Victoria had sent managed to reorganize a drone to come fly in.
Yes.
And that's when we saw how effective these drones are. They're terrifying little things.
He just lit this thing up, didn't it? Blew every...
It dropped out. They move so purposefully and with such strength.
Yep.
There's no wishy-washy movements on these things.
And they're firing. I mean, what the hell are they firing? They are firing some bullets, aren't they?
Yeah, they were shooting like disintegrator blobs or something like that. Science fiction disintegrator guns.
So all that happens, he's saved, and he spots a book on the ground, and he picks it up, and he reads... no, he doesn't read it, doesn't he? But he kind of like brushes and he looks at it like it's a foreign... Like a vegetarian looking at a steak. Like he didn't know what the hell he was looking at, Anyway, then he's back at the LA apartment, and Victoria is... telling him to come to dinner and stuff, and is he okay? And we've got this kind of... We start to see that in their relationship, she's all about the policy, and whereas he's a little bit of a risk taker. And so in this scene, he comes up with a surprise. Now, remember again that they've been romantic. We know they're in a romantic relationship and a professional relationship. Probably never a good idea, but in this situation, in such close quarters. Anyway, he gives her a flower that he's been,
watering.
Growing. And she immediately takes it outside and throws it off and says, it's toxic. You don't know what's in it, blah, blah, blah. Which, I mean, look, it did make me think, but he goes out there every day. Like, wouldn't he be toxic?
Yeah, I think that's also a bit representative of the fact that she doesn't want to be there.
No,
she
wants to go.
And you see a bit more of this towards the end of the film
this
there, where you realise
there's a bit of a polar opposite with the two characters going on.
But you also realise there was, right when there are astronauts flying up, there was already a bit of three-way tension there where she was not quite so happy that he and Julia were together.
Yeah.
And she was kind of forcing things a bit there.
Yeah, I think so,
In denial.
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of thing as like, oh, this flower, he wants to stay here. No, how do I keep him? You need to
come with me, yeah.
Keep him with me.
Yeah, we're about to go. Come on, we're about to get our job done, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing we did in the startup. She's like, there's only 2 more weeks left of this job and we're out of here.
It reminded me of I Am Mother as well. When Mother took the mouse and he went, oh, how nice. Took it straight into the incinerator. And says, oh, a flower. Dropped it off the edge and came back.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. We get a real, very quickly in this film, because she is the technician. You know, he's a bit more rogue, which again says a lot about Jack. Versus Victoria, being a bit more clean cut. So when he questions about the mission then, and this is a great scene because this is I was starting to think, is this film going to be a bit of a thriller? Because is it going to have a thriller element? Is she... Because again, I didn't know anything that was going to happen in this story going in blank. In the scene next, he is kind of questioning the mission a little bit. And so she does the good old trick, which is totally seduces him and they make out in the pool.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by a thriller is quite often that's what happens in a thriller. You have this moment of clarity for the key character, and the opposite character, their partner or something, seduces them or distracts them from what's actually happening.
Hey, let's do something entirely different.
Yeah, and it's always something a bit it's always something quite often sexual or naughty. And in this case, seeing how she was such a clear policy maker, it's like she walks out, strips off, hops into the pool. It's like, oh, this is a bit naughty. This is a bit and then she pulls him into the pool, doesn't she? So it's like, yeah, they're doing something a bit outrageous. And I thought, oh, she's hiding something there. But in fact, what it was, of course, she's, as you said before, she's trying to go, oh, how can I keep him? How can I hold on to him?
She's got that trace still left in her memory.
Yeah. Because we see Jack's memory, but we don't see, maybe she's having some sort of memory too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's some sort of, she must do.
Yeah. So they wake up in the morning. And in the pool when they're making out, he has a bit of a flip out moment where it's not her. It's the girl from his memory, which is Julia. We don't know that at this point who she is, but this other girl kind of is there in the pool with him, isn't it? Underwater. That was nice. So in the morning they wake up. He sort of wakes up freaking out from that, and there's this massive explosion in the horizon, and it's one of the hydrofuel stations has been attacked and annihilated overnight. And we get the kind of mission from above, the message from above that it's one of their drone fuel cells have been used.
Yeah.
So you guys, suddenly they're not doing a good job.
Yeah. Are you still effective?
Are you still effective is the question. Yeah, we're unsure about that. And Jack goes flying off to see what's going on. And he leads him to a beacon.
Yeah, he goes first. He does. He flies off to
the
thing and flies around, and they say, "And now we're missing." Were they missing a couple of drones? No. Now we're getting a signal. So he goes to find the signal that's playing.
Yeah.
And they go, what? They managed to decode it, and it's coordinates, GPS coordinates.
And he goes to those coordinates.
But it's the beacon though is on the Empire State Building, which is in his memory.
Yep.
Where he's with this woman.
Yes.
And so he's getting some strong.
He's getting some more flashbacks again. Yeah.
And he even grabs the little monkey doll.
Yeah.
We don't see that until in a little bit where he flies off.
Yeah.
In his investigations, he scurries away down to a little secret hidey hole.
Yeah, just hold on before you do that. So the beacon is because he gets her to what's the word? It gets him to analyze it, and it is
look at it good.
Yeah, I know my words have just totally left my brain.
We
need to bring in the space brain.
That's a security memory wipe.
That's right. I've had a memory wipe today. But yeah, the scavs are they realize the scavs are sending a signal off planet.
Yeah.
Which is like, why are they sending something off planet? They don't get it. And so he disconnects it. He
calling
cuts
in
it.
reinforcements, maybe.
Yeah. So it's good old Jack saves the day. And then that's where he goes off to his little secret hidey hole.
Yeah, he's got to
cabin in the woods.
investigate these fallen drones.
And we know as well, because when he goes to this cabin in the woods, he doesn't tell Victoria.
No,
he goes under.
He says
goes under the radar.
he goes towards the border, and we see it's like the radiation zone. He says, "I'm just going to do a perimeter sweep, and I might be going out of comms." Yeah, which is, and Victoria is obviously like distraught, and again with insight from later on, you realise that this is again she doesn't feel she has that control. She doesn't have him.
Yeah, because she says to him, "Don't go off. I can't.
Yeah, I can't protect you.
And the tech is not in. The tech's switching off right now. Yeah. Come on.
The horizon.
You're mine, aren't you? You're mine.
What she didn't realise it had she actually just gone out with him.
Yeah, I know.
When he'd asked, but she doesn't like that. She's clearly not too keen on the whole.
Yeah, because we do have a couple of moments where he keeps saying to her, or maybe it's after that, isn't it? But
you
it's
should
like
come down with me.
You should come down with me.
So
and she keeps saying no.
He goes off to his little hidey hole. It's like a valley where it's all green. It's survived the various devastations that have occurred. The rest of the planet, the Empire State Building is up to its chin in silt.
Sand, or silt.
And I got to say, the special effects in this were spot on. Like the computer graphics adding in these landmarks and things into these desert scenes was just flawless. I think I was looking, and they just got the lighting right. Very effective. So he's in this valley, and he's got like a little hut, a house, cabin, I guess you would call it, by a little lake, and it's basically an American romantic dream. Yeah, they always have the cabin in the woods by the lake.
It's the cabin in the woods. He's got it's all old school stuff.
There's a record player.
It's a record player. He's got these old records. He's got the little soft teddy from the New York.
Everything that's analog and
it's basketball ring.
You can touch and you can feel and you can hear
and he's got the old New York Yankees cap, and it said so much about his character.
Yeah, it's a big nostalgia freak.
Yeah,
that is really appealing to our generation.
That's right.
And I remember coming home from high school, around my friend's place, and we put the record player on, and there's something special about putting the needle onto the song you want, and you get that little scratch sound, and then
nothing like it. We're gonna, the teenage audience that listen to Space Brains are gonna be freaking out right now. Sorry.
I know. There's probably, if they're nerds like me, that they probably have played with record players.
The tech is listening.
Yeah. So anyway, he has a bit of a snooze, and he plays a bit of basketball. And
is there something down there? It has to be, or is it me? Is it an insect?
Yeah, it's a little insect buzzing amongst the things. I have to remember to cut this bit out.
Yeah, cut this bit out. Sorry. You see it? Is it alive? What is it? Don't know.
A little insect.
What? No. That's weird.
You can get that like a little bouncy thing. It's like flipping against the glass or something, kicking. Okay, well.
Yeah.
So anyway, he has his little lie down.
Yep.
Snooze. He plays a bit of basketball. He listens to some old music. And his records are all like classics. He's got Pink Floyd, The Wall, for example. He's got Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah.
A few other bits and pieces. And he ends up. He goes back home at that point.
Well, there's a entry across the sky.
Ah, sorry, yes.
There's something exploding, like something's entering the atmosphere and coming down, and man-made. So he immediately gets back and gets into the spaceship.
Gets back online and Victoria tells him that he landed in Sector 17, which is where the coordinates were.
Yep.
So this is clearly triggered by that beacon.
Yeah.
He goes to investigate. She says, "No, don't."
Yep. But he's going. He's already there.
Because she says, "Oh, I can't cover you or whatever it is. She manages to get a drone to head over that way, though. And so as he gets there, this drone turns up.
And mission control tech is telling him, don't go there.
Yeah, do not go there, sir.
Yeah, we've got this covered. But he goes in.
He sees the sleeping pods.
Yes, scattered across the ground.
Scattered with peoples in it. He's like, they're humans. And as he's walking around in there, a drone turns up.
Yep.
And starts shooting the life pods of the hibernation.
Starts killing them, immediately.
And he gets inside the spacecraft where there is Julia asleep, and he's like, oh,
it's the woman from his memory.
It's my memories. And there's a tense
the woman
moment there where the drone is going to shoot it, and he jumps in front and like tries to deactivate it. Yeah. It's me, don't shoot me. And the drone goes, okay.
I want to.
It begrudgingly backs down at that point and says, okay, we probably won't shoot you just yet.
Yeah, we'll hold off.
So he
takes her back.
Brings this sarcophagus back and resuscitates. And Victoria's none too pleased. No. She's not sure she's going to open the glass doors and let him in.
No.
But she does.
Yep.
And they open it up and help this woman who coughs up a lungful of goo.
Yeah, she's had a big night on the Turks.
Breathing fluid, I think she refers to it as. I'm going to just say that next time I have a hard night out. And it's just like, no, it's just breathing fluid. It's just...
I just wake up out of my hypersleep pod.
Yeah, I feel like that. And so then Julia wakes up later on.
And we immediately... It's funny because... I think it took me a little bit as it went on, these couple of scenes, but like the way I wrote it down, it's like, this is a threesome that ain't going too well for Mr. Jack.
Yeah, you can see Victoria's...
Suddenly there's a bit of tension, isn't there? Like
Victoria's helping out, but you can see
she's shitty.
She's only begrudgingly doing it because she doesn't really want this person to die.
Yeah.
If she didn't think she was actually in trouble, she probably would have just let her alone. But the thing was flashing red, and so she had to help out.
She had to help her,
and the moment Julie wakes up and goes, "Oh, Jack," and then falls back unconscious. And there's sort of some tense moments there where Victoria just wants to sedate her unconscious and leave her unconscious, no doubt.
They have dinner, and it's okay if you'll be alone, and she holds his hand really forcefully, and there's really nice stuff in there, I think, actually. There's a good little tension. And I didn't pick up on that triangle, but you're saying like the spaceship is a triangle, and
spaceship's triangle. The little symbols of triangle.
So
the spaceship, the
threesome with the
dragonfly
characters.
craft. It's got the main pod. He's in, then 2 engine pods, and its landing gear has got 3, and there's sort of a bit of triples in a lot of this.
So in the morning, Julie and Jack, Victoria doesn't like this again, but they go back to the crashed ship because she wants to get the black box, basically.
Yeah, because Jack is pressing and saying, "Who are you? Who are you? You know, what's going on?" And she says, "Oh, I have to get my flight recorder. You'll know." So he goes, "Okay, fine." And they piss off early in the morning because they know that Victoria's not going to be
happy with it.
And she's not. And she wakes up and sees he's gone, and with this other woman, and you can well imagine she's kind of like, "Oh, I'm not pleased with that."
No, and when she kind of gets in contact with them, they're already there, and Julia does get the black box, but they're attacked by scavs.
Yeah, it was an ambush.
Knocked out. It was a bit of an ambush. They're knocked out by these scavs, and they're taken. And so poor Jack, he's sort of got this foggy memory going on, waking up and as he's being dragged along the dirt tracks, and the next thing you know, he wakes up, he's tied up in pitch black, and we have the beautiful voice of God of Morgan Freeman come over.
Morgan Freeman. This is
no one does it better. I mean, if you've got enough money, Surrey, you have to put Morgan Freeman in Exit Plan. You know what I mean? Like, you have to bring him in.
If I had the money, there would just be the most ridiculous cameos in any movie I made.
Like Morgan Freeman. But I like this because it's, like I said before, like, I reckon this director has really thought that through and just gone, I'm going to have you in the dark and no one can see you for 5 minutes.
Well, he starts with that quote of, is it Horatius? Horatius on the bridge, and he says something, poetic along the lines of, when men die and meet their gods in the burnt temples or something.
It's just beautiful.
It's a lovely bit of poetry there, and Morgan Freeman presents it so lovingly. And I heard that and I went, oh, I forgot that he was in it. You know, I knew Tom Cruise. It was a Tom Cruise movie, but you don't realise it's also a Morgan Freeman movie.
So the leader, anyway, beyond having that little, you know, amazing moment of Morgan Freeman's voice, the leader, you know, he talks to him and he tells him about the scavs of people, and that lights up the place they're in, and there's all these humans, you know, men, women, children, and that then he explains to him that they have the nuke, they want to put it in a drone and they want to send it up to the tech and blow it to smithereens, and they need him to do that.
To program it, yeah.
Because he's the technician.
He's not convinced though.
No.
So he says that, you know, he wants to be let free, and there's just as like they shoot him in the chest, but he's got bulletproof armor on.
Yeah.
And then they're holding the gun at Julie's head, and there's like this tense moment of standoff, and then there's an alarm goes off because the drone has
caught up to them. Yep.
And the drone, and then so people creep out and they sort of do this like shooting from different angles, and they shoot the drone and it explodes and kills the people, and you know, it's a very expensive process dealing with these drones, which makes you realise that this drone they captured and refitted would have been an expensive process. That's cost lives for sure.
Yep.
Not to mention the fact that they're now seriously risking their lives. But then they're leading Tom Cruise off and Julia off, Jack and Julie.
Yep, Jack and Julie.
JJ. I didn't notice that before.
I did.
Yeah.
Jack and Julie.
Yeah, it's very American names. Although her last name is Rosakova.
Yeah.
So I know.
And I've got to say, later when it's the flashback and you see, I'm sure that is it like a Russian flag underneath her or a Polish flag or something?
Yeah,
but anyway, I don't know. I'm not into the Polish.
Choice. I wonder why they went.
But maybe she is Polish. I mean, the NASA people, they do work together and stuff. You know, it's international. So
well, I mean,
it's international. Sorry,
the actress herself has got a Polish or.
So as they're taking off, they let him free, and what does he famously say to Jack, Morgan Freeman? He says, go to the radiation and you will have all your answers.
Yeah. If you go to your radiation zone and you get your answers.
Yeah, but they don't do that.
No, they don't. Because you'll be cooked. You'll be cooked if you go there.
So they go. He knows he's got to try to get back to Victoria and the LA apartment, and so he goes back to the beacon and sends another day in paradise. So she knows, you know, Victoria's relieved he's alive. He's still with that bitch of Julia.
Julia.
God almighty. But he's alive. So she's quite happy because we haven't said much about him. We won't. But she's been playing a little bit of white lies with the tech. You know, everything's okay. It's all right.
We're still an effective team.
But she's not quite. She's a bit ruffled. Her feathers are a bit ruffled in those scenes. But anyway, so she's happy that he's still alive. But because they're back at this beacon, which is the Empire State building, this is where Julia kind of opens up to him, and she says, "I am your wife. You know, like you brought me here." And this is where Jack has a moment of clarity, and the memory actually turns. If you notice, it turned from black and white to color.
Yes, it's color. It's beautiful.
So, which is great. It's very symbolic. So kind of bringing it from the past to the present. And he remembers that they were, and she says that they were actually on a mission together, and they got directed to, instead of going to Titan, they got directed to investigate this alien spaceship that arrived in our, radius to Earth. And so he's a bit confused about that. But yeah, he sees Julia and the fact that he proposed to her on top of the Empire State Building. And he does. He like kind of has a profound moment of, you are my wife. You are my wife. You're my wife? Oh, okay. I've got two women here. All right. It's going good for Mr. Jackie Jack. So anyway, he goes back to Victoria and tries to convince her that, I've got a wife. As again, I've got a wife.
Because she's like, what are you doing with her?
Yeah, what are you still doing with her?
And he's like, well, she's my wife. Oh.
So because we did see that when Julia says, you proposed to me, and he's like, oh, you're my wife. They kind of embrace, and I think via the vision of the
spaceship,
the spaceship that was coming to pick
dragonfly.
him up. Yeah. The dragonfly thing, she sort of sees them embrace. So, of course, when she comes, she's pissed off.
Because
so
you
she's
can imagine
locked the doors.
some memory of hers triggered.
Yeah.
He's going, hang on.
That's right, hang on. I sort of did like you and you didn't ever like me and you proposed
I don't
to
know
her.
how
I
this
think,
works.
again, we were not privy to that. But, I mean, sorry, you're a married man. It'd be like if your wife saw your vision of you kissing someone. I mean, you'd rock up at the door and the doors would be locked, wouldn't they?
No, she'd probably laugh or assume that I'd been paid to do it or something. I'm a peculiar person.
Yeah. Okay. You'd get away with it more. I'd probably have the shotguns being fired at me. Yeah. So there we go. But so Victoria's locked the doors. That's what she's done. And it's a glass door. So she gets to have a conversation with her. He's telling her, you got, because he's realized that there's more to this whole thing,
You've got to come down and see what's going on.
Come down and see what's going on. She's refusing.
And then she hits the intercom to the tent.
Yep. She hits the intercom of the tent. And of course, then the doors open.
Yeah, she says, she tells the tent, says,
your line.
Blah, blah, Jack's come back. There's another one here. Are you still an affected team? No, we are not. And he's like, no, don't say that.
Don't say the words.
Don't do this. You can't see me. I'm waving my hand.
That's the safety sex word. Don't say that. Yeah, we're in trouble now.
That's the safe word.
That's the safe word.
But then the doors open.
Yeah.
Which is surprising to both of them. They're like, oh, okay. But we then see the shot underneath in the repair garage, the drone that they've been working on, waiting for the shielding to be
suddenly comes
repaired. Comes alive and it
through the
pops
ceiling.
off its little bits and pieces, and it comes out up next to the flat, shoots through and blasts Julia into smithereens.
Yeah, she's done.
Literal smithereens, I'm sure they are. And Jack gets knocked to the ground, and they're seeing it dramatically passes through the curtains that are fire, and they drip off it.
Yeah.
And
it was a killer.
Wondrous thing. And just you think, okay, well, that's it for poor old Jack. Blat, 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 blat. Julia's got in the other machine and shot guns in the side. And of course, its shielding was off, so it just got hammered.
Annihilated.
Went down.
Yep. So, Jack's still alive. Poor Victoria's out of that threesome. She's done.
She didn't suffer, though.
No, she was annihilated. And she did call mission control. She could have gone down and maybe got on with, the Game of Thrones dude.
We all know a person like this, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Who would
policy.
Well, actually, I'm going to report
Yeah, I'm going to tell the boss.
This is going to have to be written up, and you kind of go...
Never works out, actually. It never works out in these movies. Do you know what? In these type of sci-fi movies, it never works out for that person. There's a good...
oddly enough, however, except for Alien, where she's like, we've got to follow the
Still
rules.
Doesn't work out for a long
not
period of
really.
time. Really.
I mean, if you're going to say.
Because no one else helps her,
But anyway.
And in this context, it still doesn't help out.
So they piss off, don't they?
Because
he's now convinced he's gone. He's seen this death.
Yep.
And he jumps in the flyer and shoots off and flies off, and then there's being chased by drones.
Hang on. There's a little moment where he talks to the tech. And it's a bit weird. It's like it's sort of revealing itself. It's not quite how it's been.
Yeah, it's
the voice has changed a little bit.
It's not maintaining its pretense anymore.
And but then he's disappeared. They've taken off because they've realised. And all of a sudden, I think it's 3 drones.
3 drones get pulled off.
And there's pretty much a good old-fashioned sci-fi, spaceship gun battle, through the tunnels.
Yeah, there's sort of a lightning storm, and this is where I think it was very Star Wars again, through the valley, which is just like the Death Star fight.
Yeah. But it was well done. It was
great, sort of little shoot through there, and it was nice to see
I was just going to say, it has all those moments. Like he ducks into a waterfall, they go past, he chases them, he fires, he gets rid of one of them, and then there's a couple of cool sciencey moments in the, like the drones reverse fire.
Yeah, they're
rolling and then
guns
one goes one way, the other one goes the other, and then that one comes up behind him, and then he in his spaceship is able to turn and shoot.
Well, it's funny because I noticed that the guns on that thing, the guns on that thing were on the top and the bottom of that rather than on the sides.
Yes.
And I noticed that and thought, that's an odd arrangement, Dad. Yeah. Normally you'd have them on the sides. But it's because now it can rotate backwards and face backwards and shoot over and under the body.
Because it was a killer gunfight. And if you're into that kind of stuff, this movie has that going on for it, I think. So
Yeah, it was well done.
now he manages to destroy the three of them, and one drone has gone over, one drone has crashed. That's right, it was crashed into it, 166. Again, it came back to the same drone. That's interesting. I don't know why. A 66?
Yeah, I don't know.
166, yeah. But it came back again. So he's crashed and he's like, but he can hear it. So he's like, I've got to get rid of it. And they're in the radiation zone is where they've crash landed. And he runs up to the top of this sand dune and looking over the top. And suddenly there's another of his spaceships landing, things landing, and a person getting out and going up to it. It looks like it's going to fix it. Like him.
Yeah, and he's like, no, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. And his gun doesn't work anymore, so he like has to run down.
And at this point, you're thinking, okay, it's a bit weird there's in the radiation zone. But okay, well, maybe they just have it gridded off in different towers and the different technicians. It kind of makes a bit of sense, have done.
But it gets weirder than that because as he approaches, it's another freaking Jack.
Jack Harper.
It's another one of him. And this guy's like confused that he's a Jack. And they're sort of staring it down each other, and they kind of manage to put their guns down. But then they have a fight. They have a good old Tom Cruise versus Tom Cruise fight.
Yeah, but then Julia comes running up and says, "Hey!" And then there's like,
but she's bleeding.
Well, it's a typical thing because in the gunfight, in the hand to hand, number 52, because number 49 is the one we've been following. Number 52 pulls his gun out and points it at Jack. He pushes it aside and fires off.
So it's hit Julie.
Julie's like 30 meters away.
Yeah.
And you got to think, I was thinking, what on earth are the chances if this wasn't a movie that wouldn't have even happened? Because to so accurately aim 30 meters away just happened to be on the exact right trajectory. But that would be a good
question for Mythbusters, wouldn't it?
It's a movie, and this is what happens.
That's what happens. Raise the stakes. So they fight. She's been shot. She's bleeding. Our Jack, number 49, has kind of taken the day and tied him up, dumped him in the sand. So
he can kick his own ass. That's
that's the thing. Tom Cruise can beat up his own ass. That's exactly right. Sorry. And he says to her, "You got to stay here." He dumps her in a cave, kind of thing. I'll be right back. I'm thinking, why aren't you taking her with her? But anyway. Because he's going back to Victoria, and she wouldn't be too happy to see that again. But this time he's going to number 52's Victoria,
which is a tower on a cliff.
This time it's on a cliff. It's an LA apartment on a cliff. So he goes there and he sort of wanders around. And Victoria is there. She's okay. She's not dead, which is weird as well. Again, so she's obviously a version of them. And he gives her this opportunity.
You're also immediately wondering, like, he's number 49 and this is 52. So is it like 1 through 48?
Yeah.
And also 50 and 51?
Well, it's the whole planet. It probably is.
Yeah,
there might be 100 of them. Yeah.
Freaky.
Poor Victoria's sort of leading this whole weird...
Man, she's got this...
She's kind of got it pretty shitty, doesn't she?
That's a kind of hell, really,
It's a hell for her, really. Yeah. And I suppose for him as well. But like, yeah, she's sort of torn heartstrings the whole time. And you'd imagine, like, any of those movies where it's alternate realities, like, they wouldn't be romantic in some of these, would they?
Yeah, you've got to wonder.
They would all be a little bit different.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be a slightly different...
Yeah.
Because it was a different relationship with these ones here, because he says, you should come down, you wouldn't believe what's down there. And she says, we've spoken about this so many times. Yeah. And you go, well, hold on, we've been watching him. They haven't really spoken about it much. Like, she wasn't... Number 49's Victoria wasn't quite so... Didn't have the same sort of response.
No.
And she was like, clearly number 52 had often said, you should come down with me.
Yeah.
Which, again, you're thinking, lady, if you like him so much,
why don't you
and
go
you
with
actually want him to like you...
He wants to take you for a drive, man.
You do have to compromise a bit and see what he's into.
Yes. No, Victoria wants it this way.
Yeah.
So maybe not. Maybe she doesn't deserve it after all. So anyway, then he takes Julie. He goes down and we see him quickly, like, with modern or futuristic medicine in their world.
It's almost like the Predators thing, where it'll spray. Yeah,
spray, suck
something
it.
else that's going to hurt her.
Yeah, suck out the bullet or something. And anyway, and then she wakes up in the cabin in the woods.
Yes.
And there's a good moment here because it's basically she comes out and he's looking at the lake and stuff, and he says to her, I'm not him, meaning I'm not the real Jack. You know, I am some version of Jack. And she says that, well, they're his memories, so you are him.
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't matter.
An interesting philosophy that they didn't really explore too much.
No, they didn't. They didn't go deep in this film about cloning and that in that way. But so then they decide he's going to leave, and then she decides to come too. That they have to go help the scabs.
Yeah,
you know, they have to do the mission. So a perfect plot point, really, in this point in the movie. So they both set off.
That's that brush of death. This is him choosing Act 3.
Yep.
So Act 3 comes in where he's decided to take action, and the antagonist has changed, because originally the scabs were the sort of the bad guys, and the boogeyman who hid in the dark and sabotaged stuff and blew up our engineering marvels. And now it's turned. We, along with Jack, have been fully convinced, in fact, no, there's something wrong with that Tet floating up there and these drones, and we need to stop it. So it was well done, and you can see the experience of the scriptwriters here, that we just naturally progressed in there. When he was first confronted with it, even threatened with his own life, he was kind of not convinced, because he was still thinking, that Tet is full of people. Yeah, sure, you guys might be down here doing this stuff. Maybe you're sort of a rebel faction or something, but that Tet's full of people. I can't blow that up. But now he's going, okay, this has gone too far.
Yep.
We've had that. We've had enough encounters now that his worldview has changed.
Yes.
So he returns back, and I do like this scene here, because in contrast, he turns up and Morgan Freeman comes and says, I wasn't sure you were coming back.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, okay. He goes in there and he twiddles with the thingy, what's it, and it bumps up, and they go, okay, we're going to do this. And it's sort of the reverse now. Now we've got the lights are on. He's surrounded by people, just like before, but now they're not like all looking down at him while he's tied up. They're all with him. And I like this little touch. He looks to the side, and a kid, maybe a 10-year-old boy, pushes forward out and sort of stands and watches in awe. And you go, as an audience member, you look at that and go, yeah, this isn't just like a bunch of like rough and tumble blokes who are... No. This is families, and this is not just a military outfit who know what they've gotten into, as the saying goes, but this is actual humans, families trying to live. And that was just a nice little touch that I noticed and went, oh, isn't that nice? Yeah. So they start gearing up, they've got this little tractory thing. They've got the drone on. They've got to take it out of their bunker.
So, but in that, they're also it's if you do Blake Schneider, it's the Pope in the pool scene, because he's doing all sorts of like things to the drone, like he's getting it all ready, and that's what we're watching. But good old Morgan Freeman is stepping us back through like what happened to Earth, because he's saying that he was a young man in the military, and the tech rocked up. Yeah, barely one. Yeah, good. But the tech arrived and blew up the moon right out of the night sky, And so he tells us that, and he said that Earth was taken over.
We can't
we had
do
the
Morgan
earthquakes,
Freeman,
and he said
can we?
No, I'm not even going to try. I'm just doing American. Earthquakes, like they did most of the damage.
Yeah, Chicago's on
Chicago was okay, and then most people were starving to death. And then this is the bit, and in a way, I wish. I mean, your imagination does this, but it's like then he's like, and then they sent down, the troops in cruise ships,
the troop
and when the doors
yeah.
opened, it was you, Jack, hundreds of you, and I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine hundreds of Tom Cruise coming out of it? I mean, Hollywood would probably go, yes, please. Like, this would save us like a shitload of money.
Drop.
Yeah, we just pay them like $10 each to be in a movie. But like, I was just like, oh God, can you? My imagination really fired up on that. I liked that idea, but it was a clever scene because, and then and he also says
it made me wonder what lie they told those Jacks, because when you're confronted, you're sitting there in like a unit of your ship lands and all your troops come out. And there's like hundreds of you. What lie did they tell them? Or was it
actually?
Or were they wearing like armor and masks and things? And like, so there's kind of like, you've got to wear this because it's so irradiated down there.
Yeah.
You can't, and that way they couldn't really see each other. Or I don't know. It's just curious. Or it could have just been like, there's hundreds of you. we cloned you because you're a good soldier.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Does it make sense?
Yeah, and you got to blow all the people that aren't you because they're the alien.
Yeah.
You know.
It does make it easier to know who to shoot.
Yes.
It's you and everyone else.
Yeah.
You against the world. There's a few thousand of you, but that's okay.
There's 10 million of you, but you know. So that was cool. And then they said that then after that, the drones were sent down to clean out the water. So yeah, it was a cool scene. And then when they're about to release the drones attack.
Yeah, it's really
These things are ruthless. They come into the caves that they're all hiding out in and
shooting everywhere.
Shooting the crap out of people. There's a great moment where one of them bumps a guy running and he just flies off into the, bumps off into the cliff face or whatever. There's destruction, there's explosion, there's death, there's, these drones.
We get it's a nice fairy tale moment. Fairy tales always have threes. Yeah. If there's a rule of three, so there were three drones come in, and the first one came in, they shot it with their stationary gun, whatever it was, and sort of it immediately blew up, and then the other two then started shooting around, and they had to hunt them. Each of those was sort of a little challenge in itself. So you got this three hurdles they had to leap over in order to finish the show.
Yeah, so there's a lot of death and destruction. The Game of Thrones dude saves Julia, and the kids that she was kind of saving herself. And so there's a moment there. And the drone is dead, and the impression is they kill all the drones, and so is Beach, Morgan Freeman. It's as though he's dead. Like
he's lying there on his
and he says like in his last breath, send the drone. He's like, well, actually, it's fucked. We can't send it. It's done.
And he says, I would have liked to have seen the look on its face.
Yeah.
Put that drone up there.
But then Jack realizes that, well, I'm going to fly it. I'm going to have to fly it in there and blow it up. And Julia says, well, they won't let you in, so let me come, because if I come, they want me. They want to see who I am, so they'll let you in.
Up.
Yeah. So reluctantly, they decide that they will do that, and they'll take the bomb straight up to the Tet. And this was really interesting. So he takes off with Julia on board and the bomb, and it's a cool scene because then he starts playing the flight recorder. This is a really nice moment.
Yeah, it's a great way of getting that flashback to know what actually happened.
Because again, we haven't had to have all these flashbacks in the movie to tell the story, and in this scene, it's a good moment to have a flashback. So he's flying up to the spaceship, and then it flashes back. The first one, we realise that he's the pilot of the spacecraft, and he, of the Odyssey, the NASA thing, and they're kind of coming in on the Tet, and he's reporting back to Mission Control, NASA headquarters. And who is it? It's the woman that's been telling them the whole time. Sally, yeah. And so the alien then has obviously doctored Sally's image.
And she's got that lovely Texan accent.
Yeah, so she's a lot more personable.
Some of these Texan accents are just so nice.
Yeah, they are.
They got that real sort of rolling lilt to it, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. So we learned in these flashbacks that they were trying to investigate it, and NASA wanted them to. And then when they realised that they were being sucked, the tech was starting to suck the spaceship in, that they said, well, we'll try to evacuate, and they couldn't. And so we have a couple of moments there where they try to evacuate, they put on the thrusters and all sorts of stuff, but they can't. In fact, they're being sucked in more and more. And then he decides to eject back the other astronauts, including Julia, his wife, to save them or from whatever they're going into. They're not too sure. And Victoria takes that picture of them, and we sort of, I think, get the impression that, she's had the hots for Tom Cruise all this time.
Yeah, she's trying to get that picture of it's an ambush picture.
It's an ambush picture. She's trying to get a bit of a kiss on the cheek or something.
Because we saw that picture in the apartment.
In the house,
And it looked like he was
kissing her,
Yeah, like sort of going to sort of kissing her while she's taking a selfie.
Yeah.
In reality, though, it's like she just sort of
snuck up and took a selfie,
jumped in and went selfie, and he's like, "Huh?" Yeah.
So it was kind of a cool little moment. But I think the whole point there was like, oh yeah, she sort of had it into him a little bit.
But she also refused to go back because he said, "I'm going to eject. You get yourself back in there."
The pod.
And I think she went, "No, you need a co-pilot." And this is her sort of officious nature where she goes, no, the requirement is that you have a co-pilot. Also, this way I get to be with you and not Julia.
Julia. That's right. And anyway, and then they're sort of swallowed into the tech, aren't they? We see the light come on. And it's a nice transition because we go from that flashback to the point that basically he's then now entering the tech as well in the modern time. And in there, he's kind of gone in, this is cool. I'm in this spaceship. There's loads of drones. It's all good. I know what's going on.
Yeah, it's sort of mostly
and then all of a sudden, a couple of drones come up and they basically override his spaceship. So he's at their whim and he's tested by mission control, by Sally. But he passes the test. So she sort of detects that he's lying and this and that, but he says that he's here to help the survival of the better species, I think.
So and that's the truth. Yeah, I want to try to ensure the survival of my species. We deserve to live.
Yeah.
And I think because that is the truth. She went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. He's come to bargain or to try and pay me off in some way. This would be good.
That's fine. And he's got Julia on board.
Because we don't really know this alien entity's true agenda.
And we keep going through, he keeps sort of going down this long kind of corridor of triangles and they keep kind of opening and he keeps going in and going in. He
passes by all the clones.
And then he
on one side
one is drones. Clones.
Jack's on to the left of me, Julie's to the right of me. Here I'm stuck in the middle with Sally.
And so he goes through, he gets out the pod and Sally's kind of questioning, the alien, and he's talking to her, and all of a sudden the pod pops up, it's Morgan Freeman.
He goes, hello.
And she's like, no, this is who I wanted. I did think, I did think about it, why doesn't she want Morgan Freeman? I mean, come on, what's wrong with him? Why was it
Well, she was using Sally's voice. She could have used his voice.
Yeah, that's right.
You could alternate between two. I mean, Sally had a nice voice, but Morgan Freeman.
I mean, look, this is me getting deep, but I was trying to think, what does the alien want with Sally? Doesn't she want to investigate Morgan Freeman? Isn't she kind of, I don't know.
Who knows?
Couldn't he go back down and, infiltrate as a clone his people? Wouldn't there be value in him?
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, she was pissed off. She's like, this is not the deal. So the drones come flying in.
I think maybe she's also pissed off because she's like, well, hang on, if this is one lie, then what else have you been lying about?
What else have you been lying to me about? So they blow up they laugh and they blow up. And it's a nice sort of thing because, as you said before, Morgan Freeman said, I'd like to be there, when you give it the old hee-ho, So they blow up the whole ship and it implodes.
And then down on Earth, the drones that are about to annihilate the injured and hurt humans,
kids and all
drop out of the sky.
They all drop out. They're all dead. And I guess we fast forward, I think we are told it's a couple of years later, and Julie has a child, which is interesting, a little girl.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. She must have been pregnant in the sleep.
Well, they did. I think they made out when they had sex when they went to the cabin in the woods. So
it kind of didn't really go.
We didn't see anything, but I think the impression was they.
Because I was a little bit surprised by the child. I was like, oh,
where did that come from?
Because normally you get a bit of foreshadowing of the classic is the hand on the tummy.
That's right.
Always the woman goes, and be careful, hand to the tummy, and the man is oblivious to this and goes, yeah, whatevs.
Yeah. I like your tummy. But anyway, so she's in the cabin in the woods. She has a little daughter, and they're kind of, they've grown tomato plants, and they're surviving, blah blah blah. And
it's a bit idyllic.
It's idyllic.
In reality, it would probably be close to starvation and be horrifying.
But anyway. It's the end of the movie. Sorry, it's the end of the movie.
It's
and then anyway, out of the wilderness comes a little boy, and then some other people, and then we recognise the Game of Thrones guy, and then the next thing you know, a Jack, number
52.
52.
The other Jack who was
that he beat him up,
and he's got his voice over there saying that he's seen her in my dreams, and it's been leading it. I always knew that this place would exist.
Yeah, that's right.
And I guess when he saw the green there, you can imagine him traveling around because he would have been having a real existential situation there because he escaped from his bonds. He wasn't there when he got back.
No.
So he's probably having this whole, what is going on? The world has gone topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
Drones would have probably chased him and so on. And
you'd imagine that if he'd gone back to his Victoria, what's going on there? Because none of that would work, would it? Like the apartment. You know, imagine because it was all like, you know, operated by the tech, wasn't it?
Yeah. You've also got to wonder about all the other towers. Like he's number 52. There must be at least 1 through 51.
Well, she gets pissed off with number 52. She can just kind of like drown him in the lake and then go get number 51.
Try again.
Try again.
Keep going.
Yeah. So he arrives, and that's kind of the end.
It's a beautiful little voice over there about the strength of the soul and memories and how it's quite interesting because of course Julia clearly accepts him as him still.
Yeah, because I think the daughter say, who is he? And she's like, it's your dad, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
I don't know. It was at least 3 hours ago since I last saw this movie. So.
3 hours is a long time for you. So what about, how did you watch this film?
Well, this is actually the second time I've seen it. So the first time, oh Jesus, what was the first time? It wasn't at the cinema. It
5
was
years old or 6 years old, isn't it? So
I think it was it wouldn't have been a DVD because it wasn't that old. It would have been a downloaded. It would have been here in Mandurah, in fact, 2013. You say?
Well, it's when it came out. That's when it came out. So maybe you saw it in 2014.
Yeah, it's 2014. It would have been here in Mandurah. Downloaded it, pirated it. It had already been on TV, so technically I was actually just watching a recording of it.
Okay.
Just for the technical.
You could have said that and not implied yourself in a
Well, it's here in Australia. We all pirate everything in Australia. We all know that.
I don't.
Actually, what was the stats? They did some stats about 87% of Australians pirate stuff.
30%, sorry.
Yeah,
okay. 30%.
Well, I got to say, actually, now with Netflix and these other streaming services, I've had no reason.
That's what's
so they finally and that's why they're making so much money. Hand over fist. They should have done this years ago. 6 years ago. But yeah, I watched it the first time here when the kids had gone to sleep. Both of them, Elliot would have been 2.
So did you get anything? Anyway, did you get anything out of watching it a second time?
Yeah, the second time was really good because it was long enough that I knew the twist, but I didn't remember the details of the twist.
Right? Yeah.
I couldn't quite remember
what happened,
what the specifics of it. So it was very good. And watching again, though, I enjoy watching it, which is a different one because the first time I was watching it primarily just to spend some time with my wife.
Yeah.
When you've got 2-year-olds and stuff,
little kids,
as you well know, is at the moment they're quietly asleep, you just go, oh my God, let's quickly do something to turn ourselves off. So I was watching it on my phone in this case, and that's how far we've come in technology. My phone represented beautifully with some earbuds in, and I was quite impressed with the clarity of it. Having watched a lot of streaming on my phone, they really got this sort of color grading down. It was a harsh light because it was, desert wasteland, post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
But it was far less so than many of the movies. It didn't hurt. Some movies they sort of go to the point where it's so sort of sharp that it's just almost unpleasant to look at. This was just really a great balance there, which I think worked very well. Yeah, so I watched it on the train myself. Thoroughly absorbed the entire time. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I was a bit the same. I'd not seen it before. It's something that it'd been around on, in the traps and stuff that I wanted to see it, but I never saw it. And the years have gone by mainly because of kids again.
Actually, just wait on it. Have you seen the? What's that other recent Tom Cruise one? Just after this one was like the
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I did see that one.
You've seen that one,
yeah.
Okay.
And that's good as well. I liked that film, but I'd seen the trailer of this a couple of times and stuff, and I wanted to see it, and I just kind of it just drops away, doesn't it, with all your other stuff? But when it popped up on Netflix recently, I'm like, oh yeah, I always wanted to actually see that, and it was surprisingly even though I went and enjoy watching. I think I just had that real experience. Like I've said tonight, that it's just like, oh, this is Hollywood at its best. Like this really pops. It doesn't. And I thought about we just went through the plot points, but the start, like you don't really. It doesn't slow down at all. Like it's really quite fast at the start. Like it pulls you right into the story, And, straight away he's repairing that drone and there's danger and there's, him saving the dog. And there's a bit of like, and then Victoria, the situation there. And the next thing you know, he's out again. There's another action scene and he's down the hole and he's been attacked. Like, it doesn't really stop, to breathe, the film. Like, it just keeps pounding along.
And the other thing that's really nice, it didn't feel it didn't have the over-the-top Hollywood.
No.
So many films that have a bit of action in them, they tend to
they go a bit too nuts.
They go a bit too far, and you kind of go, you're really just piling it on a bit much.
And we probably saw that a bit last episode with The Wandering Earth. It is that real upheaval, trucks flying over and stuff. And it's cool. But yeah, this film I think still was subtle enough. I've been watching a hell of a lot of the short science fiction films on Dust, and I've got to say, like, watching this, I was kind of like, this is really good. This is like one of the Dust films, but Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, this is the feature version. Like, I could see this as one of those short films on Dust, and it felt to me the essence of this film felt so sci-fi. Like, it really felt like the filmmaker loves science fiction. Like, this is science fiction from Hollywood's point of view. And I was kind of like, can you imagine being Justin Kosinski? Like, this is a dream come true, isn't it? Like, huge budget, Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, and you get to make it. And it's his origin story. Like, he must have been really excited about putting this out there. I'd love to hear from him what he thought about this film, at the end of the day.
What a great opportunity.
And anyway, he's lined up to do, he's doing Top Gun.
Oh, okay.
Or it's done it or
Top
whatever.
Gun 2
comes out next year.
Not sure how I feel about that.
I don't know either, but Tom Cruise is a big player, and I reckon he's probably pulled him across to do that. Like, he's probably said, "I enjoyed this experience." Because it seemed like they enjoyed this. Like, I don't think anyone didn't like this film. The people that worked on it, they enjoyed this experience. So it brings us into the ladder. I am bringing it up the top. I'm bringing it right in there after Other Live, above Passengers. I'm putting it in as my number 4 on the ladder. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, I put it as number 1.
No. Above The Lobster.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to.
Yep.
Because I've seen this before, and so I was thinking, okay, Oblivion. Okay, I'll watch it again, and I'm usually not big into rewatching films a lot. But when I watched it again, I forgot. And I think I wasn't really paying as much attention to the film as it was. And this time I'm going, this is really slick. Like, it's really flows nicely. It's entertained me. I'd seen it before. I knew the twist of, no, actually the Tet is the aliens and the scabs are the humans. And yet still I was interested in the dialogue. It was just, there was no wasted dialogue. No, there were no bits where you're kind of going, where are you going with this?
Yep.
Everything just fit and wove in just so smoothly. And the visuals, as I said, were so pleasing on my eye. They weren't beautiful as such, but the composition of them and some of the shots and angles and camera movements and things were just easy to look, easy to watch.
They were.
So so as a result, I'm going, well, because it's a rewatchable movie, I've just proven it.
Yep.
And there's a lot to get from it. So I'm going to put it at the top at the moment.
Okay.
So that's
ruffling the ladder right up.
Yeah, that's good.
You're giving it a good shake.
Well, I'm going to actually have to publish this ladder.
Yeah, I think we do. We need to.
Probably by the time this episode has gone out, I will have put the ladder up. So have a check. We'll have each of them up there, including the classic side bit, which we don't necessarily order.
No.
But I'll put those up. So there you go. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that is. So you're saying all those moments. I mean, what's a key moment? I mean, for me, a key moment in this film is the cabin in the woods. I reckon that's a great scene. Just the reason why I like that is it's not at all really science fiction-y, but it's such a character thing. Like we are seeing a rogue, a working class man in his New York cap, and he puts on the flannel top.
He's got a simple dream.
Plays a basketball. He's got a simple dream. He wants to lay by the pond with his wife. Like, I don't know, it's such an idyllic moment when we know beyond this beautiful little paradise is, destruction and annihilation. So I just think like that was a really cool scene. Another one was that scene at the start where he does fix the drone and saves the dog. But like the whole setup again is like, it's the stadium, and he
tells that
narrates.
story. I got pulled into that with the story he was telling. He told
I'm not into NFL. Like,
I have no idea what he was saying.
The Super Bowl, and he's saying the last pass, and he's sort of like, and it's cool. It's such a cool shot because in the background is this broken down stadium, a bit gladiator style, and the goalposts are like on an angle, and yet here we are in modern day futuristic society with a drone tech repair. But what to me is like, it's beautiful, that scene, because you're finding out so much about Jack. This is a down to earth guy. He likes football. He likes football and beers. Like this guy is a very down to earth person.
Yeah, he doesn't. And he's not a savior of the universe.
No,
he's not a hero.
No. He's the everyday hero, isn't he? He's like that everyday person. So I think from a writer point of view, and I think audiences in general like this, because it just becomes so clear cut who this person is.
And he's told this story before. Yeah. Victoria says, "Oh no,
don't tell me this."
It's the Super Bowl again. Yeah.
Again, she could probably be a bit nice if she wants to end up with him. I mean, come on,
you got to wonder what her actual motivations were there. But
you say she could tune him out, but she could be like, "Yeah, sure, that's a great story. Yeah, no, that's great. That's
what my wife does." I start talking about computers
and
then
start
AI.
Like scrolling through the Instagram feed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She could have been talking to me.
I'll tell you my number one scene. And they were great scenes, and certainly the Super Bowl story. I got pulled into it, and when he said touchdown, I actually felt a little flutter. I was like, oh. But
I was like trying to write some notes because I'm like, this setup. But I was like, oh, like I was.
Yeah, like I said, these scenes. But actually, when they were no longer an effective team, and the drone, it comes up to the side, and you just see the silhouette through the curtains.
Really cool, yeah.
And then Victoria is just blasted to ash. We don't get any gore or anything.
No, she's just gone.
And then it makes that noise and it moves through in the curtains.
The curtains fold over it. Yeah.
And it's so... Suddenly these drones, which kind of looked a bit... a bit like something made by Apple.
Yeah.
They're this smooth and they got these nice curves and little bits and pieces. They kind of look stylized.
Yeah.
But then it's coming through. It's starting to look a bit Terminator. And
it did.
The curtains pull back and they're burning a little bit.
Yeah.
Across the guns. And it almost looks like you can see it's got a face.
Menacing, yeah.
It looks like a skull, and it's got the glowing red. Everyone knows a robot or an android or anything like that with a glowing red iris
you're
is in kill mode.
Yes.
And just the whole scene there, it painted that whole picture now, turned everything upside down. Like that was the moment where you were totally convinced. Now, it was just a bit sinister before, and you could sort of see things, but everything's still so smooth and clean and fresh and futuristic.
My Apple iMac's not going to kill me.
Yes, it will.
It will, slowly.
Yes. But you'll enjoy it. Because it will just kill you.
Yeah, that's right.
The PC will start killing you and then it'll like blue screen and you'll have to restart to get it to start killing you again. That's right. Terrible. Yeah. But that scene there I think was a beautiful reversal. That was there. Now the drones are these menacing Terminator creatures.
It was a turning point, wasn't it? Yeah.
And there was the fire on the curtains. The home life was destroyed. Everything was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the lighting, also the reflections. The CGI on this is just spot on. Like
I reckon
there wasn't any of those spots where you're sort of going, clearly CGI.
Yeah.
You knew it was because we don't have drones that float around like that.
No.
But it definitely looked like maybe they actually had a physical prop of that drone moving in there because it was so convincing.
Yep, definitely.
So that would be my number one top scene just because it's effectiveness.
Yeah, definitely. That was great. Annihilating Victoria like that, and as you said, coming through slowly to shoot him like
they didn't do a gut wound where she bleeds out and goes, but I always loved you. Yeah, I knew I would lose you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, she was gone.
Why couldn't they shoot Julia? Oh.
Yeah. I did think the pool scene, but then, I mean, Passengers comes after this. But isn't it funny that the pool scene, then we have it in Passengers very similar, like, you know, a pool on the outside. Like
I think there's something a bit romantic about the pool,
making out
the dark,
in the pool.
dark lighting with that sort of silvery glow on things.
And I suppose nudity when maybe you shouldn't be nude in the pool, like, you know, public pools and stuff.
Yeah, that filter have to work over time.
Yeah, it would. So anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to make that note, like, because Passengers had that outdoor pool, and well, you know, it was indoors, but it went outside.
There are a number of movies with the pool, you know, with the light. I think it works well because you've got everything's glistening and wet. You can have the implied nudity without showing explicit nudity.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can have great opportunity for lighting.
Yeah.
Because you've got the under pool lights and you've got, you know, maybe a bit of steam coming off the water. It can be very dramatic.
Very true, sorry. You've thought this through.
Okay, that's it. I'm going to have Morgan Freeman and Tom Cruise making out in a pool.
Oh, God.
With other people around, I'm sure.
More people. Jesus.
I don't think they should make out with each other. Although maybe they should do that, you know, look across at each other and maybe partially consider it and then go,
Not tonight.
maybe another time.
All right, let's move on from your fantasy.
Actually, I've got Morgan Freeman to do my audiobook.
Yeah, good.
It'll just be me trying hard to be Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, I've got Morton Freeman.
Morton Friedman.
Doing my voiceover too soon. Coming soon to my short film.
Hey, but tell you what though, this film, of all of the science in it, there's a lot of bits and pieces in there. The most topical piece that I saw, and it's interesting because back in 2013 this wasn't a big thing, but now it's deep fakes. You heard these things where you basically put someone else into a video that they're never in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There's been various classic examples of Obama saying things.
Yeah.
He says, you know, President Trump is a bit of a dickwad. But it looks a lot like Obama is saying that in his voice, and because this is what Sally was. The TET was basically taking previous imagery of Sally, and creating original video with it.
Yep.
And we're doing this now. You can actually get I was hoping to download before the show the application that does it. You can actually get for free an application, and on your home computer you can now
play with it.
Set it up. In fact, there's little scripts which will automatically bring in Nicolas Cage images, because for some reason everyone wants to put Nicolas Cage.
Everyone wants Nicolas Cage. Of course.
He's been in a lot of movies, and some of them are really good, and some of them are really not. This one, was it Blind Justice or something? He's an assassin, and he has this weird love affair with a blind woman, and oh my God, it's just peculiar. It's kind of fun, but it's a bit peculiar. Anyway, there's these deep fakes, which we can do with our own technology now, which is what this TET was doing. This deep faking Sally. And this is done, I've touched this before with artificial intelligence, because this deep fakes is now taking all this artificial intelligent work we've done and applying it to videos. And I would love to give it a shot and try to get some spokespeople who aren't really spokespeople for me. I could get Morgan Freeman to do a testimonial for Spacebrains, for example.
Yeah.
And so the way they do it, and there's several levels of this. The app that you get down is just as a face swap, because the extra one is the voice encoding, where it basically does the same thing. So it'll take samples of someone talking, like Obama, get a whole bunch of, because there's lots of him doing speeches. So you get lots of him talking, and you get a lot of video of his facial expressions as he's talking. And then you get an actor, or you could get someone else, like another president, doing similar sort of things. And then you, much like you do with Snapchat or whatever, basically does a face swap. So you train this artificial intelligence. It gets all of these different expressions of the face of person one, and tries to find ways of transforming from the expression into a neutral picture. So you go, this is your target, and then here's them with their eyes closed. And so it'll try to go through how to morph from eyes closed to the neutral expression.
Right.
How to morph from smiling to neutral, how to go from open mouth to, and it'll keep doing that, and it'll train until it matches as closely as it can to your target image. And it does it does the transforms, and then it compares and feeds that information back in and does these round trips. And you do that with your second face, it'll do the same thing. It'll try to find the target, and then you swap them basically. So it knows the transformations required to go, like from a neutral to a smile for you, for example. And it knows how to do the same thing for me. So it'll actually take those same transformations, but it will use the mapping it's used for my face on your face.
Right.
And thus it can basically interpolate from images across. Now, the more accurate or more similar the expressions that you train it on, the better the accuracy. And there was a video I was watching there of Tom Cruise, deepfake. What they actually did for that was they first of all set up as if, we're being visited by Tom Cruise, and sure enough, Tom Cruise walks in and talks, and it's really convincing. The voice, his hand actions, his movements, his size, his hair, everything. You can see there's a little bit of wobble in his face, but it's not too bad. And they showed how they did it. They actually got a Tom Cruise lookalike. So already they're starting off with someone who is in fact a professional Tom Cruise lookalike. Yeah. This is what he does. He does impersonations, basically, of Tom Cruise. And he does. He sounds very similar. He talks with a similar cadence. He has hair. He looks fairly similar. Yeah. And he uses the same expressions that you might see on Tom Cruise's interviews and things. Hand actions, facial movements,
jumping up and down on couches.
Yeah, these sort of catchphrases and so forth. And so they actually had quite a close one. And because it was quite close, it actually resulted in quite a good deepfake. And so the closer you do your mapping, the closer. So I guess the idea would be that you would be able to do best, and that's why these presidential speeches work so well, because often in these presidential speeches, they're saying things and doing things that you can map quite easily between them. They're usually talking about similar topics and using similar movements and expressions. So it's quite interesting. You should really check it out. There's a whole series on YouTube about it, and I'm going to have a shot at it. If I can get something deep faked on my local computer, I'm going to upload that to YouTube and link it up on the site. Yep. And I'll let you know next time.
Yeah, cool.
So that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's basically what the tech did, which is presented as some sort of future technology. In 2013, we didn't really have.
No, definitely not.
That sort of thing.
No.
Not realistic. And oddly enough, Sally was sort of breaking up and was a bit patchy, I think, maybe to try and hide her fakeness. But I think that that spaceship could easily have been very perfect in its deep fake.
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting. And I guess that technology is only going to get better in terms of how much you can map someone's face and the points and how much detail. It raises
interesting questions about copyright, because this Tom Cruise video you have your product endorsed by someone that looks and sounds exactly like Tom Cruise. I mean, maybe you probably can't say it is Tom Cruise, but if they quack like a duck and walk like a duck, they're Tom Cruise.
Yeah. And what if you just don't say Tom Cruise endorses it, but he walks in saying, I like to drink this water.
This water is great. Woohoo. He's not necessarily saying, I'm in love with this water.
That's right. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
So I'm interested to see where that's going to go, because already you've got this issue with pornography where they're putting celebrity faces on pornography.
Yes.
And passing it off as real.
But not
does that give them a free pass?
Yeah.
Can you now have your sex tape get out and you just go, no, this is a deep fake?
Well, some celebrities want their sex tape out as well. But I was going to say, just with what you're saying, is that there's an Australian woman that has young girl that they took her face and did that onto, and she wasn't a porn star. She was studying to do law. Yeah. She obviously pissed off the wrong guy. And because it's the thing, she said that she didn't know who the person is, but it has to be someone close to her. She must have pissed someone off that had links to this technology or whatever. And her face has then been put on pornography, and it's kind of ruined her.
Yeah,
you know,
because
and now 6 years later, she's fighting it, and she's gone now. The odd buns, I think it's the new. She came from New South Wales originally. They've brought in some sort of new law a bit about it, and to try to protect people. But it's a pretty tough area to legislate on.
You could easily put people doing all sorts of dreadful things. Yeah,
that's right. And the other thing is like what people post on social media, like boom, you can take all those images, can't you?
Oh yeah.
You know, so the more images you put of yourself out there, the quicker it is, and that can be doctored, and the next thing you know, you are doing some awful things, you know?
Yeah, well, the joke's on them. I don't think they could show anything I was doing that would be more awful than I actually do.
Yeah, you should check out his Facebook page. It's all
sorts
sordid. It's very sordid.
Check out Gravity Undone on Facebook. You'll see, well, nothing terribly exciting actually. Yeah.
You're hunting aliens. You know, you've got a brain, space brain sticking out of your head. You know, there's all sorts of stuff there.
It is. It's quite terrifying.
Yeah, you should check it out. So yeah, I mean, like you mentioned the special effects and CGI. I mean, they are through the roof in this movie, aren't they? They're just amazing, and that stood out to me really quickly. I was like, I think, it didn't disappoint. It was very clear. I thought those drones were great. You know, as you said, it's like a slick apple at times, and then at other times it's this death robot. There was no issues with them flying and moving, and like as I said, they even like bumped someone. They bumped people over. They smashed into his, into his butterfly, as you're calling it,
dragonfly. I'm calling it dragonfly.
I'm calling it a butterfly now.
Okay.
But they smashed into it, and there was no issues with any of that effects, was there? They were spot on.
I think a lot of it had to do with the lighting and the colouring they used. Yeah. It seemed to really match.
Looked
very
realistic,
well.
This world as well they created. Apparently, it was shot in Iceland.
For sure, all of this stuff's always done in Iceland.
But like you had those deserts, and the fact that you had these American landscapes, sticking out.
Yeah, you'd occasionally see like the flame from the Statue of Liberty in that chasm that he's flying through.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because the Wandering Earth last episode, it was similar. They did that with the Beijing things, and maybe we didn't recognise them as much because we're so used to the American landmarks. But it was a nice touch, and it was a really cool kind of part of the world that was. And I mean, I've joked about those LA apartments, but yeah, I mean, they were very futuristic where they were. It was also cool, like the moon had been shattered, and you saw the rocks, like the asteroids. Like the moon was it was stuffed up, wasn't it? It was all over the place. And
I'm wondering. I'd like to figure out whether that actually would cause, because it was mostly still intact.
Yeah,
like it was scattered about place, and the whole thing with gravity is that mass is still up there, still exerting gravity. There would be some changes.
Yep.
Would it have wiped out so many people? I don't know.
I
don't think it's an answer you can really know, because it's the simulation to figure that out would be enormous. But it's nice to know also that in time the moon would reform.
Yeah, would it?
Yeah, I mean, it would just
pull back together.
Because the moon is not in the Roche limit of Earth.
Right.
Remember the Roche limit from the Wandering Earth? That's the point where gravity, the gravity of the object you're approaching exceeds the ability of the gravity of the object to keep itself together.
Yeah.
So if the moon came close enough to Earth,
but why would it go back together if it was just rocks and stuff?
Because most of the moon was still a big chunk. There would have been enough gravity there, and it's still orbiting around.
Yeah, right.
And there'd be every time it was going around, there'd be a little pull every time. It would take, I don't know, thousands, millions of years.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So it would take a long time.
It would eventually pull back together. I mean, that's how these planets and things formed in the first place.
But yeah, just pull whatever you can towards it.
Yeah.
Sound. I mean, we mentioned about the drones having their own little characteristics, and I think that's a good tip to pick up if you're going to make a sci-fi with a robot or a drone or something. Like adding those sounds makes it so much more human, and it makes us feel for it.
It is kind of funny because you get those comedy ones where the robots go bleep bloop.
Yeah. But
hello, Mark.
But they've got to be. But they've got to kind of be there, don't they? There's like, and I even thought that, like, when he was coming up right early in the film to that hole in the ground, like there was that, like we were getting closer to the drone, and it turned out it was a fake signal.
Yeah.
But it was like it was really there, and they did it again later on that the drone was approaching and stuff. So it was a clever.
It was a nice synthesizer.
It was.
As opposed to an orchestral score, it had a strong, I guess, synthesizer sort of pad sound. Is that what they call it? They call them pads?
I think so.
Whether
pads.
Where it's very electronic. Long drawn out sounds.
It was very good, but we were really pulled into it, I think, the sound. Like it suited every scene. And the cinematography is one of these things that there's nothing that was super arty, but... like, it followed all the rules. Rule of thirds was there. All the codes and convention. It almost felt like if you broke this film down, it's almost like every single shot possible was there. It probably wasn't anything super special, but it was just everything was there. Everything was textbook. There was a couple of really nice extreme close-ups of Tom Cruise.
Yeah, you could see
when he was tied up,
and stuff,
like there was the eyes and it must have been a focal length of like 1.4 or something. Like this was just in focus, and everything else was already blurry.
His cheekbones and ears,
everything was
blur,
and it's just beautiful.
And you could see the dirt in the creases of his eyes.
Yeah, so they did that a couple of times, and whereas the rest was kind of more your standard close up or mid shot or something. But I think if you broke down the whole film, there was extreme wide shots, extreme long shots, close ups, extreme close ups. Like it just sort of had everything, and rule of thirds was really applied. So I thought it was really well done that way. And again, I think Hollywood does tend to do that really well. Like
it's a very sparse actors film as well. Like there was Victoria and Tom for the most part, and then Julia came along.
Yep.
And then there were a couple of scenes with
Morgan Freeman,
and the
apart from that,
But it was just empty landscapes, Icelandic landscapes, as it turns out, with a couple of buildings poking up here and there. It sort of, you could almost imagine that the film could have been done with a much lower budget by sort of bringing the vision in a little bit, because you've only got a handful of characters. You could have gotten rid of most of the extras.
Yeah.
You'd only need Morgan and Nikolaj, and so maybe five actors and a couple of extras, and in a desert, and you'd be right. Couple of burnt out.
That's all it
factory,
takes.
Couple of burnt out factory shells.
Couple of burnt out cars. That's the drones.
Yeah. Another problem.
They were good.
Well, what we found is actually taping a whole bunch of cats together. It looks a lot more like a drone than an actual drone does.
Just getting them to run around, kicking. So yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to say on that. So that Oblivion, it's a great film. Check it out. Let us know what you think about our podcast on Twitter.
Yeah, at Spacebrains Pod on Twitter.
And Instagram and Facebook is Spacebrains Podcast. So check us out. Let us know what you think of Oblivion, what you think of what we've said tonight, where it fits on your ladder.
So tell me, Mark, what is for next week's episode?
Pitch Black.
Pitch Black. We're watching Pitch Black. We've got a bit of Vin Diesel going on there, and it is the best Vin Diesel, I think, because it's science fiction.
Very good. Exciting. I've never seen it.
I look forward to you seeing it.
Yep.
One day we should actually watch one of these movies at the same time.
We did that for I Am Mother. We could do that again.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye-bye.